Welcome to the Honor the Gift podcast. I am your host, Art McCracken. I specialize in transformational leadership and high-performance coaching. I've worked with hundreds of companies and thousands of individuals along the way, helping them achieve greater outcomes in all aspects of their life. I'm a speaker and writer, but at the end of the day, none of that holds a candle to being a husband, father, and friend. I believe the greatest gift in our mortal existence is the gift of choice. How we honor that gift will shape the eternities. I also believe that career is a way of being and not just a way of life. And when you figure that out, by learning to let go of the charades and leaning into growth, life just seems to unlock itself. I know this because I've lived it. Quite simply, my calling is people experience living true. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making the commitment to lean into growth. I honor your journey. Now, let's do this. Hello, friends, and welcome to another weekly episode. This week's topic is more of a statement and realization than anything. My world will change today. Whether we like it or not, that is a reality that we each face every day. So let's dive in. I want to start with sharing something that I remember seeing on a t-shirt once. It had the words printed on it that said, "The critical slide." Whether it meant what I took from it or not, it brought clearly to my own mind the slippery slope of criticism and aimed skepticism. What I mean by that is simply this. Your own bad attitude will never solve for somebody else's incompetency. It's an easy path for certain to react or to act out. In fact, oftentimes, it's a reactionary cover-up for the familiarities brought on by the procrastinated efforts of personal change. Outburst deflection comes in all shapes and sizes. For some, it's easier to avoid than to act. For others, it's far too easy to criticize openly in an attempt to assemble a diversionary army for personal avoidance. While it's easy to find fault in another's actions or lack thereof, it's far more difficult to identify one's own opportunity for change. That critical slide, as I've defined it here, leads nowhere. It's an empty path filled with anger and pent-up frustration that will continue to find a dead end as it destroys every relationship in your life. The opportunity for growth comes handily with each moment of choice. Choice to act rather than react. Choice to build rather than destroy. Choice to own the impact possible rather than flee from the influence we seek. All choices we'll each face, and ones that have the power to shape our entire world. Why then, if we realize the choices in front of us can have a lasting and positive impact, do we persist with old habits and taking a road that's already been taken? As we study some of the cognitive strategies around avoidance and deflection, we find that the common models we're accustomed to that protect us are derived in fast thinking and not necessarily reflected upon intentionality. In the space of personal change, we operate way too fast. Recognize that the work of change and progression is messy. It is slow. It is volatile. It can have significant costs and barriers. Eric Buehler said this on persistence of old mental models. We generally stick to old mental models until new ways of thinking appear. During the change process, however, we tend to see the new only through the old lens. When the first motorized vehicles were built in the 19th century, cars looked more like carriages than automobiles. This was because people imagined them as an extension of horse-drawn transport. New ideas, concepts, and words were introduced, but old ways of thinking continued to be used to analyze and solve problems. Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying this week's episode. If growth, personal growth and development is your thing, and you're here learning and leaning into growth, glad you're here, glad you're part of the community. If you want more of this, make sure and hit subscribe in this podcast platform or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Search for Honor the Gift podcast and make sure and subscribe so that it shows up each week with new updates, new conversations, new learning, new ideas and concepts, again, to help us all in this journey we call growth and how we make it through life and the way that we show up for others. Also, if you are looking for more information, deeper dives into some of these conversations, and just an update to stay in the loop, you can always go to choiceisthegift.com and click on subscribe, where you'll be in the loop on things that are upcoming and more updates on this podcast. Again, thank you for being here. Now let's get back to the episode. So how does this tie into the evolutionary change of each day? Each of us will enter our day in one of three ways: reactionary, complacent, or intentional. Each day will happen to us and for us. We will exist in it, whether we plan to or not. It will pass by us and through us. Knowing that doesn't change anything really. The world will be changed as a result of how we show up each day. Our own world will shift as well. Forwards or sideways, for even what seems backwards at times, it will see an impact by and through our presence in it. Under this premise, how then will we show up? A friend and colleague said recently in describing the dichotomy of inspiration and subsequent action, inspiration without integrity doesn't buy much. Let me share that again. It was by a good friend and colleague named Richard Condon. He said, inspiration without integrity doesn't buy much. What Richard was teaching us, in short, is just because you feel a change is necessary, or that you feel and want to do things differently and have a larger impact, it doesn't translate into anything unless you're willing to have the integrity of action taken in the pursuit of better. If you want to make a mark in your life and in the lives of those who count on you through your legacy, let this thought sink in. No one remembers easy. Own your own actions and attitude. Let it reflect the change you seek in the world as opposed to a pessimistic view of reality and the easy detour away from the change you seek. Enter each day with the acknowledgement that indeed your world will change. Will you be there for it? Remember that growth is always a choice. Until next week, my friends, make it a great one, and remember to always honor the gift.